Hello everyone, in this presentation we are going to deal with the basics of controlled fusion reactors. We all know that a nuclear fusion is a reaction in which two or more atomic nuclei are combined to form one or more different atomic nuclei and subatomic particles like neutrons or protons. The difference in mass between the reactants and products is manifested as either the release or absorption of energy. The essence of controlling fusion reactions is to heat a thermonuclear fuel to temperatures of the order of 10 raised to 8 Kelvin, that is, the mean kinetic energies of the particles will be 10 kV. At the same time, a higher density should be maintained for a longer time so that the rate of fusion reactions will be large enough to generate the desired power. Of course, at these high temperatures, the atoms will get ionized. The ionization energy for hydrogen is 13.6 electron volt. So, due to the ionization, the fuel is a hot mixture of positive ions and negative electrons, but the overall charge neutrality is maintained as such. This situation is known as the plasma state. The Debye length, which is a length scale, is determined by the electrostatic properties of the plasma and is given by the equation LD equal to 4 pi epsilon 0 divided by E square into kT divided by 4 pi n all raised to 1 by 2. Here all the terms are familiar to us, right? Epsilon 0 is the permittivity of the free space, K is the Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature, and N, which is not that familiar, is the mean ion or electron density. Now we have to consider two cases separately. The first case is of the solid densities as a rough scale factor. The Debye length for a 10 kV plasma is of the order of 10 raised to minus 8 meter, and the number of particles in a volume of the plasma of dimension of 1 Debye length is about 10 raised to 4. Now the second case is the case of a more rarefied plasma where the density is only 10 raised to 22 per meter cube. The Debye length is 10 raised to minus 5 meter and the number of particles in a volume of dimension 1 Debye length is 10 raised to 7. From both these cases, we could observe two basic properties that permit the use of plasma equations to describe the hot thermonuclear fuel. The first property is that the physical size of the reacting plasma is much larger than the Debye length in dimension. The second observed property is that there are many particles in any characteristic volume. Here, one of the major problems faced is related to the confinement of plasma. For the hot fuel to exchange energy with the walls of the container would at the same time cool the fuel and melt the container by the transfer of heat. Till date, there are two schemes for confining the plasma. The first one is magnetic confinement, where as the name suggests is related to the confinement of plasma by carefully designed magnetic field, and the second scheme is inertial confinement. Here a solid pellet is suddenly heated and compressed by being struck simultaneously from all possible directions with intense beams of photons or other particles. There are many ways for plasma to lose energy, so we say plasma confinement is not absolute. One of the primary mechanisms by which plasma loses energy is Bremsstrahlung. In this process, the Coulomb scattering of two particles produces an acceleration which in turn gives rise to the emission of radiation. In normal cases, we know large accelerations are suffered by lighter particles. Here the lighter particles are electrons, but because the electrons and ions are in thermal equilibrium, any loss experienced by electrons is reflected in the positive ions also, as a result of which they are less energetic and less successful in penetrating Coulomb barrier. The power radiated by electron experiencing an acceleration A is given by P is equal to E square A square divided by 6 pi epsilon 0 C cube, where C is the velocity of light. The given figure shows the geometry for estimating Bremsstrahlung losses. Here, the ion is at the center of the ring of radius r, then r is equal to VE tau, where VE is the velocity of the electron and tau is the interaction time, and hence we can say that tau is approximately equal to r by VE from the portion of the path where the Coulomb force has the greatest effect. All electrons that pass through the ring of radius r and thickness dr suffer similar losses. Suppose the electron is at a distance r from an ion of charge Z, then the acceleration A is given by A is equal to F divided by ME. Here F is equal to ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. So obviously A is equal to ZE square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 ME r square. If tau is the characteristic time during which the ion and the electron interact as evident from the previous figure, then the number of ions encountered at a distance r will be n into VE tau into 2 pi r dr. Here n is the density of positive ions. If dp is the contribution to the total power from electrons scattered at impact parameters between r and r plus dr, we can write dp equal to e square n divided by 6 pi epsilon 0 c cube into z square e raised to 4 ve tau into 2 pi r dr divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 all square into me square r raised to 4. We know that the characteristic interaction time tau is equal to r divided by ve, and thus we can write dp is equal to 4 pi e raised to 6 z square n divided by 3 into 4 pi epsilon 0 all cube into me square c cube into dr divided by r square. The total power radiated by a single electron can be obtained by integrating the above equation from R minimum to R max, and this result multiplied by the density of electrons Ne gives the power per unit volume radiated by the plasma. Here we can take R max approximately equal to infinity, and for R minimum we usually prefer the distance of closest approach, which for a 10 kilo electron volt electron turns out to be 144 SI femtometer. Here we can calculate the quantum mechanical uncertainty in the electron's position by taking the uncertainty in momentum approximately equal to P itself, and that is equal to approximated to be 100 kilo electron volt per coulomb. Then the uncertainty in position delta X is of the order of 2000 femtometer. Since we cannot specify R minimum as precisely as 144 is at femtometer, we take a better approximation or better estimation for R minimum as h cut divided by MeVe. So after carrying out the integration, the power per unit volume radiated in Bremsstrahlung becomes PBR is equal to 4 pi n into Ne z square e raised to 6 Ve divided by 3 into 4 pi epsilon 0 all cube MEC cube h cut. So here we are going to give an approximation, that is Ve is estimated as the velocity corresponding to the mean kinetic energy of the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So Ve approximately equal to root of 3 kT divided by Me. So after evaluating all the numerical coefficients, the power per unit volume radiated in Bremsstrahlung becomes PBR is equal to 0.5 into 10 raised to minus 36 Z square n into Ne kT all raised to 1 by 2 watts per meter cube. Here kT is in kilo electron volt. We know that the reaction rate for fusion reactions is N1 N2 into average of sigma V. Here N1 and N2 are the densities of the two kinds of fusing ions. Sigma is the microscopic cross section, V is the velocity of the interacting ions. If there is only one kind of ion, that is as in the case of deuterium-deuterium fusion, the product N1 N2 is replaced by half N square. Here the factor half just corrects the double counting of reactions. Before moving further, we need to have a look at the two nuclear reactions which are commonly used for power production. They are the DD and DT reactions. The deuterium-deuterium reactions, that is the DD reaction, involves the combination of two deuterium nuclei to form an helium-3 nucleus and a free neutron. The DT reaction or the deuterium-tritium reaction involves the combination of a deuterium nucleus and a tritium nucleus to produce a helium-4 nucleus and a free neutron. The most common form of an initial confinement machine, for example, uses a fuel that consists of equal parts of deuterium and tritium. The given figure shows the comparison of Bremsstrahlung losses with the power outputs of DD and DT reactions, assuming an ion density of 10 raised to 21 per meter cube. Here we see that there is a temperature at which the fusion output will exceed the Bremsstrahlung loss, which is of the order of 4 kV for DT reactions and 40 kV for DD reactions. This suggests the superiority of the choice of DT for fuel. Here we should also note that the Bremsstrahlung losses increases with Z square. Therefore, fusion reactions using nuclei other than hydrogen have substantially greater Bremsstrahlung losses, as well as generally smaller reaction rates in the kilo electron volt region. We therefore choose to operate a fusion reactor at a temperature where the power gain from fusion exceeds the Bremsstrahlung losses. Other radiation losses, including the synchrotron radiation from the charged particles orbiting about magnetic field lines, can also be neglected. The fusion reactor will have a net energy gain if the energy released in fusion reactions exceeds the radiation losses and the original energy investment in heating the plasma to the operating temperature. If you operate at a temperature above 4 kV, that is even at 10 kV, the deuterium-tritium fusion gain is greater than the radiation loss, and we can neglect the loss in energy to radiation. The energy released per unit volume from fusion reactions in plasma is EF is equal to 1 by 4 n square average of sigma V into Q tau. Here we assume that the densities of deuterium and tritium are equal to half n. Q is the energy released per reaction, that is approximately equal to 17.6 mega electron volt for deuterium-tritium reactions, and tau is the length of time the plasma is confined so that the reaction can occur. The thermal energy per unit volume needed to raise the ions to a temperature T is given by 3 by 2 nkt, and for electrons it is given by 3 by 2 nekt. So when n is equal to Ne, the thermal energy is given by ETH is equal to 3 nkt. Hope you have got an idea about the basics of the controlled fusion reactors. That's all for today, and thank you.